I want to call the November 2nd, 2017 Daviess County Fiscal Court meeting to order. If you're wondering why some of us are up here without jackets, you'll realize the reason why in about 10 minutes. So if you're wearing jackets, you're welcome to remove them. Our county treasurer said that he looked more professional wearing that jacket. I'm not sure that helps, Jim. Anyway, Commissioner Wathen, would you lead us in a prayer and a pledge?
Yes, before I do, what he's talking about in about 10 minutes, you'll realize the amount of hot air flying around in here.
Always from commissioners.
Please pray with me. Dear God, our Father, thank you for this great country and all of our blessings. Most importantly, for our military and our veterans. And thank you that you gave them the courage and so that they're willing to risk everything for the future generations of our great nation. We thank you for our police and our firemen. Always give them the strength that they need to protect us and put themselves in harm's way. Please bless the victims and the families of the victims of the terrorist attack in New York City. Thank you for our county employees who work hard to always improve our lives. Thank you for all of the blessings that you have given this great community of Daviess County. As always, we ask that you help the members of this court to be good stewards of all that's been placed in our care. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Commissioner. If you'd have gone another 30 seconds, I would have thought Keith Kane was giving that prayer.
Keith gave me a couple.
Did he give you some pointers? Once again, I want to welcome everyone to our November 2nd, 2017 Daviess County Fiscal Court meeting. We have some distinguished guests out in the audience besides our firefighters, and I will introduce them later on in the meeting. Are you ready, Jenny?
Yes, sir. Item 1, consideration for approval, A, minutes of the October 19th, 2017 court meeting.
Motion approved.
Second.
I have a motion second. Commissioners, you've had the minutes in your possession for some time. Any additions, deletions, or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
B, claims for all departments.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion second. Again, Commissioners, you've all had a copy of the bills due and payable by Daviess County Fiscal Court in your possession for some time. Any questions of the Treasurer? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
C, contract with Weaver Consultants Group to design the landfill gas collection and control system expansion and prepare project bid documents.
Move to approve. Second.
I have a motion and second. David, are you going to talk about this?
Yes, sir. The landfill must put in a gas collection system within, I think, 5 years of placing trash in a waste cell. And so we are at that time where the triangle area that opened up that just about 5 or 6 years ago we need to go on. The state did allow us some leeway to get it topped off since we were opening up that new cell. So this is just a contract for them to design the collection system and then prepare the bid documents.
Is this our consultants?
These are the consultants we've been using the past few years.
Yes, okay. That was what I was wondering. Are they continually preparing the documents so that we would be able, if they fell over dead, that we would be able to know what's going on and where things are?
Yes, sir. In fact, the lead project manager is retiring and is handing this off to officials in Frankfurt.
Okay. Any other question or comment by a commissioner? Any questions or comment by the public? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
D, award the following bid number 32, 2017, new HVAC system for the county clerk's office. Bid number 37, 2017, elevator maintenance services.
Motion approved. Second.
I have a motion and second. You would think that we'd award a bid for new air conditioning in this courtroom, wouldn't you? Mr. Johnson.
Yes, Judge. Bid 32, 2017, the Fiscal Court solicited bids for a new HVAC system for the County Clerk's Office. Fiscal Court received 2 bids, the bid of Harry Roberts Plumbing and Heating of Owensboro, Kentucky, is the lowest and best evaluated bid, having no exceptions to our bid documentation. We recommend award in the amount of $26,000.
Commissioners, as you are aware, the clerk's office was remodeled last year. And unfortunately, I think one of the things that was overlooked was all the lighting and all the electronics that were going to be put in place. And they failed to take into account the need for heating and air conditioning. Secondly, we are on a boiler and chiller system, and we have to swap from cooling to heating at some point. And we typically, when it got cold last week, we swapped over. Well, the good Lord decided to give us some 70-degree weather today, and I would dare say that they have some natural air conditioners going on downstairs with, they're called fans. This will allow the clerk's office to be comfortable, the customers that come in and visit the clerk's office, as well as the employees, to switch from heating to cooling at any time. And it makes sense to do it that way. So any question or comment? Question or comment by the public? Next item. Jordan.
Bid 37, 2017, the fiscal court solicited bids for elevator maintenance services for the units present in this building, the Morton J. Holbrook Judicial Center, and the Kirtley Annex. The fiscal court received 5 bids. DC Elevator of Louisville, Kentucky is the best evaluated bid, having no exceptions to our specifications. Recommend award for these scheduled rates.
Commissioners, I think, Mark, this is probably the last maintenance contract that we have to bid.
I believe it is.
We've scoured the court records, and in the last 7 years, we have put up to bid every maintenance contract that we have to date. I would just conservatively say that we're probably saving $250,000 to $300,000 a year in maintenance costs by rebidding them, by watching over them. Claude, I know, and well, I'll leave that one alone. Any question or comment, commissioners? Are we going to say we save some money over our old bid?
Yes, roughly $4,000 a year.
So even in this one, we're saving money. Okay. Question or comment by the public? Hearing none. All in favor for both awarding both bids signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
E, hire Andrew Wilson as a firefighter EMT effective November 6, 2017.
Move to approve.
Second.
Commissioners, this is the point in our agenda where we get to say no. We said yay the whole way through. Commissioner Caslen, you sat on the committee that hired or recommended Andrew. You want to talk?
I do.
You want to talk about it?
Well, just briefly, I'll say we're very blessed to have a good crop of individuals to pull from, a good pool of individuals to pull from, and we had several that had very good interviews. But I dare say, I've never said this about anybody before. I don't want to embarrass them, but I leaned over to Assistant Chief Sean Blanford, and I said, I think this young man just had the best interview I've ever witnessed. And I mean in the 6.5 years I've been a commissioner. Okay. And so anyway, I think he's a good pick, and look forward to having him on board.
Sean, why don't you stand up? Andrew, I'm sorry, Sean. Sean, why don't you stand up too? Now sit down. Andrew, come up to the microphone. By the way, the comments made by Commissioner Caslen will not increase your starting pay at all. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
We hope
Glad to be here.
Yeah, we hope that you have a good experience, although looking at the guys that are standing behind you there, I'm not sure that that's going to help you any. Be careful what they tell you.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, yeah, I know that. Yeah, in 2 months he'll be one of them. You have some guests. I want you to introduce those guests.
It's my dad, Billy Wilson. He's on Owensboro City Fire. My mom, Sarah Wilson. She served at the Utica Volunteer Fire Department. And my grandpa, Norbert Smith. He served on Utica Volunteer. He was a chief there for many years. And my grandma, Helen Rose, she's been a firefighter wife for many years as well. So
Okay.
Appreciate they can be here, and thank you for everything they've done for me in my lifetime, and they got me here where I am today.
Well, if it's an affirmative vote and we hire you, welcome aboard. If it's not, don't cry until you walk outside. And it looks like you have some really good background. Some people there.
Firefighter family, that's
right.
for sure.
So welcome aboard.
I appreciate
Commissioners, any other question or comment? You can sit down.
I just like to say I know that family and they're hard-working, good, honest people, and I've known them over 30 years. So I'm glad to have you on board.
Just say welcome, as I said a while ago. So
You know, Chief, it seems to me whenever we have a opening that we continue to get really good applicants, really good folk. Yes, come on. And I think part of that is from the volunteer fire departments that we have.
Yes, and I will give credit also not only to the volunteer departments, but Andrew is completing his fire science degree in December. Of course, he's a member of the Utica Fire Department, but he's also completing his fire science degree at KCTCS. As a matter of fact, his class starts at 6 o'clock tonight. So, but yeah, we had.
Sorry about your luck. You're gonna miss that one.
Actually, I think we we interviewed for 5 people, and I agree with Commissioner Caslin. It was one of the best interviews I've ever heard.
Okay. Commissioners, any other question or comment? There being none, reluctantly, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, motion passes. Welcome aboard. Now, don't feel like you've got to stay for the rest of the meeting, although if you all get up and leave, we may have no one in the room, so please stay. Next item.
F, hire Austin Green as a seasonal intern in the engineering department effective 12/11/2017.
Motion approved.
second.
I have a motion second. Mark, tell me why you can't do your job without this help.
We are busy. He would be doing similar work as last winter, GIS work, things that we are required to do.
Okay. Austin, are you out there? Mark, you didn't tell Austin what he would have to go through if he showed up, did you?
I'll let him know once we hire him.
Okay. Commissioners, any question or comment? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Item 2, ordinances. A, second reading of KOC A 92.01, 14/2017, budget amendment number 1.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion second. Commissioners, as you know, we talked about why we had to do this at the first reading. Treasurer Hendricks, would you kind of tell us why we're having to do this and then lead us through it?
Under the rules we operate under, anytime you have unbudgeted revenue, particularly if it's a grant or a loan, you must file a budget amendment. That's what this one's for. We received a CDBG grant for Friendly Village of $1 million and a KIA loan for the same project of $1,169,634. This budget amendment simply records those two expenses, replaces them in the budget, and there's an offsetting expense. So the budget balances. It has been reviewed as to form and classification by the state. I recommend approval, and this is the second reading.
What that means is the CDBG grant is 100% forgivable. We were able to secure that money, and the folks who live in the Friendly Village area will not have to have that included in their cost for sewage disposal. The $1,169 grant is a 50% forgivable KIA loan. So in effect, that sewer project is going to have about $1.5 million that's forgivable. They'll have about $550,000 that will go into the calculation of what they pay. Commissioners, I want to say thank you to each and every one of you for all the hard work, the calls that you've made, the meetings that you've attended, because I know that the folks out there appreciate how hard you work to get this money for them. Any question or comment by the public? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
3, consideration for discussion, A, other business to be brought before the Davis County Fiscal Court. I am not aware of any.
Okay, next item.
B, public input on community priorities.
All right, commissioners, as you are aware, every so often, we come up with a list of community priorities. And we try to do this so that when we go to Frankfurt, when the Chamber goes to Frankfurt, when EDC goes to Frankfurt, we all want to be on the same page so that we're not there advocating for different things. We also try, now, and we understand that things can change. Something can pop up that we weren't thinking about, and we may have to go and talk about those. But we try to encourage the community, as well as the two legislative bodies, the Chamber and EDC, not to take a wild hair and go up there and start talking about this is the most important thing to my group. We're talking about community priorities. Typically we have two. We have a capital projects list, and then we have a transportation list. Occasionally we will put a legislative list, a regulatory, something like that we want to advocate for. Very seldom do we do that. Tonight, we have Candace Brake from the Chamber and Mark Schnell, our recently and newly minted EDC Director, CEO, and staff from the Chamber. And they're going to talk to us about some of the priorities that we've had in the past and our successes. Right. And we do have successes. I think before this priority list on the transportation side, we had almost every project funded. Now, unfortunately, the funding went in the tank, and we didn't get all the money we wanted, but still it was significant. My concern this biennium is that there's not going to be a lot of money up there, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to go up and advocate for the things that we think are important for this community. So, you know, if you're out in TV land and you're watching this, and Candace will later give you an email address where you can email a priority or a question or something you think we should be working on. Once we get all this together, then the Chamber, EDC, and the two legislative bodies will look at them, we'll cull them, and we'll come up with what we think we should take to Frankfurt. And then we will unveil that list again to the community. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Candace and to Mark, and you kind of lead us through the exercise.
Judge, first of all, I want to thank you for having us here tonight, and just to underscore how really remarkable it is for a community our size to have all these organizations come together and essentially stake out the next 2 years of what we're going to do in Frankfurt. And the reason why we did it was years ago there wasn't one voice and there were all kinds of trips being made, but now we've recognized that having a unified voice is very important. We all give and take a little, but at the end of it we have a really good list. Joe and Jessica have the priorities list from the past years. Mark, do you want to go through those and maybe go through the ones that we've checked off, and then we'll go on to the next?
Yeah, first I want the judge to realize just how difficult it was for me to refrain from wearing my Houston Astros cap to this meeting.
Since I supported them, I invited you to do that. That just shows me how much, well, never mind.
Yeah.
Joe, why don't you guys turn around so the public could take a look at them as well? And we've got we pretty much know them. If Mark has got to read from them, I just want to give them the opportunity to see them.
Guys, let's go up here. So
Yeah,
we
well,
can be on the camera.
there you go.
Yeah. Now there, and we have those ourselves, so, or maybe we don't, but anyway, we'll
have
listen.
these.
Yeah. But these will be the successes off of here.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, I'll do. So on the capital priorities, the ones that are checked off are the ones that we have achieved since the last time we did this exercise. So we were successful in getting funding for our first family court judge. We were successful in getting family residency program at Owensboro Health. And of course, we have been successful in obtaining the funding for the upgrade of the Natcher Parkway to an I-65 spur. And finally, the downtown parking garage and transportation hub.
And so where are we headed for the future? After our preliminary meetings, Mark and I, and we've met with the judge and the mayor in our advocacy committee meeting, this year we're going to add the following. We'll ask for a second family court judge. I think we all realize how full that docket has been, and that's been in the AOC's long-range plan. The new judicial center will continue to be on there. We understand that it's tight funding right now, but we felt like it was very important to maintain that so people can remember that that's something that's going to continue to be a priority. Lighting the Blue Bridge, you'll notice that's under capital and transportation, and that's probably one of, when I'm a go big or go home, and I got it in two places, just because this is one of those things that needs to be done, and it's the less expensive of everything on here. The city is working on that. They're working on having a permit ready once the lawsuit is settled on the bridge, so it's very important just from a community development standpoint, and just the visual attraction that would have for our downtown area. And the transportation list, this was arrived at through the TAC, which Mark is on, Mr. Snell's on that, your county engineer is on it, Commissioner Charlie Castle's on it. It's a group of people that comes up with the projects in the community, and the 6-year road plan is born from that group. You want to go to the next one?
Yeah, so we said, yes, we've got funding for the Natcher upgrade, but we want to make sure that we emphasize to the legislative delegation that represents us how important it is to maintain that funding. So we decided to put that on there again. Obviously, complete the I-69 and upgrade the Audubon Parkway to the I-69 spur. I don't know about you all, but I get really tired of hearing that Owensboro, Davis County is not on an interstate. And as much as we say, yes, it is, we just call them parkways. It's still very helpful to have an eye on Google Maps when people look at it. And finally, one near and dear to my heart because it serves so many of our industries and our actually world class, and I hope everyone understands that, Inland Riverport is the improvement of Kentucky Highway 331. The condition on that road right now is we have a dangerous mix. It's a combination of residences, so you have kids on bicycles, you've got mailboxes, you've got all the normal activities of a residential area. You've also got, though, heavy industry, because we're more and more successful in recruiting heavy industry and expanding those heavy industries. And then finally, with Metalsa's expansion, they're going to be shipping more and more trucks of frames to our riverport for transport. So we have a really dangerous situation already that's only going to get more dangerous if we don't stay on for the funding of that road.
And so 331 has actually gone down in its ranking during the shift process. The new matrix, the scoring matrix we use, but it's still just as important for this community as Mr. Snell said.
And Candace, if I may add, the only two ahead of it really are Natcher and the I-69. So those are on there. We're saying continue that funding, and then our next priority is 331 on the shift list.
And then finally, under legislative priorities this year, we've added a home rule, flexibility, and local government tax structure. And that's just to remind the state government, we here in the county and the city of Owensboro, we deserve the right to be able to decide how we're going to tax ourselves and not have the state be so rigid on taxing structures for local government. The mayor and the judge have worked at length with the Department of Local Government in that, and Judge, you took a very active role in the last 2 sessions with the lift, and we appreciate that, and we will provide support to you in whatever way you need.
Ready for questions?
Yes, Judge.
Okay. Maintain the funding for the 6-year road plan. I'm not sure that, David, we don't have a 6-year road plan in effect, do we, anymore? I mean, it's.
But regardless, Judge, they will adopt a 6-year road plan.
Okay.
They may not have a fully funded 6-year road plan, but they haven't had a fully
So
funded
we're
6-year
gonna
road plan for
maintain that.
18 years. So
That's, I always like to talk about, you wait 10 years to get in a 6-year road plan, and you wait 20 years before your project comes up. But we had talked about the complete I-69 and upgrade the Alden Parkway to I-69 spur, but I'm wondering if we don't need something in there that says support Henderson County and Henderson City and their selection of the Central Corridor #1, and push, have you got it somewhere in there to add?
So I reached out to my partner in
yes,
Henderson, and
yes.
Maybe there should be a meeting with the parties to figure out the exact way we want to word that.
Okay,
before we-
well, yeah, I think right now they're in it about a mile north of the intersection of the Audubon and US 41, which is gonna be that central corridor. If they just bring it a mile, then we have access to Audubon, and we can really Do you have any comment or question? I sat in on this meeting with the mayor and the chamber and EDC. Do you have any question about the list that we have brought, the new list?
One question I have, and we've got to check on whoever had it for the parking structure. Is that, I thought that was up in the air.
So the city advised us that would have a check mark.
Okey dokey. So I guess that means they're gonna
Mission
build
accomplished.
Any other questions from the commissioners?
No question. Don't have any, Judge.
Okay. Right now, do you have that number or that email that anybody from the public's looking, if you would give it?
So if anyone is interested in submitting projects or has questions, they can submit emails to chamber. Jessica, is it .Owensboro or @Owensboro? chamber@owensboro.com, and Mark and I will get those.
Okay, so once again, chamber@owensboro.com would be where you could email a suggestion. Now, I'm going to tell you, we take all suggestions. We encourage the public. It may not be used, may not be picked, it may not come out at the end of the wash, but please, if that's the case, don't feel like you're being ignored, because you're not. If you were being ignored, we wouldn't even have this public session, nor would the city have a public session. And the city, you would have an opportunity to go to the city on this coming Tuesday. 5 p.m. is their city commission meeting, and they will have something similar to this. Yes, sir.
I have one other question on this home rule. That's kind of a broad statement. Is there anything that we're specifically trying to?
And Judge, that's your term. Is that what we talked about? Trying to come up with a way that's very succinct and a phrase where people.
And we're going to maybe refine that, but the biggest thing, Commissioner, is simply this. You hear the General Assembly talk about, oh yeah, we support home rule. They support home rule as long as it's to their advantage. They don't really care whether we have home rule or not. And when there's a controversial subject that comes up, I think that there should be a statewide smoking ban. And the answer by the General Assembly is no. That is a local decision. That's home rule. And why do they do that? Because it's controversial, and they don't want to address it at the General Assembly level. They want to address it at the local level. What we're saying is, give us the right to control what goes on here. Give us the ability, if we need money here, give us the ability to raise money. Give us the ability to do our projects. It's obvious, and I gotta be careful, I don't want to make anybody mad at the state, but it's obvious they don't have any money. So, we need some help. As a matter of fact, Commissioner Caslin, tell me what you think about taxes and how that ought to go.
You mean the dialogue we've had before?
Dialogue we've had before about.
I firmly believe, having been in the tax business for years, that the federal taxes ought to be, right now they are the highest of any tax rate. They ought to be the lowest. The state ought to be the middle, which they are, and the local ought to be the highest. And that would give each of us as citizens, we could control the outcome by where we choose to live, and we do that already at some level, but it would be much more obvious because and right now they tax us at a very high level at the federal level to try to manipulate our behavior on all sorts of issues, which annoys me. But also, you didn't ask for a soapbox speech.
I
did you?
didn't, but I should.
But I'll cut myself off here.
Okay, Keith, make it
Yes,
short.
Yes, but the reality is, I feel very strongly what I just said. It should be the because what they wind up doing is having us go and lobby them to get our own money back, which is nonsensical. If we have a project that the community supports, we ought to be allowed to raise the taxes to do that project and move our community forward. And that's not what they give us. We're very limited on what we can do.
All right, that's enough. But I firmly believe that we know best how to use money. We know best what projects are needed. We know best how to handle those things on a local level. And unfortunately, Big Brother doesn't think. I can guarantee you this, is that if CERS was separated and we had local control, I'm talking about the local legislative bodies of cities and counties had control, in my opinion, we would be in better shape right now. We wouldn't have allowed ourselves to get in this point. And I'm not pointing any fingers, I think that's where we should be. So anyway, anyone in the audience, because I did see Dr. Scott Williams come in from OCTC, I thought I did, and if anyone knows how important it is to advocate in a concerted voice regarding an issue, he should, because he is benefiting from the second phase technology center, which is going to open sometime in January. And that's something that had been on our yes, stage 1 and stage 2. We got stage 1 pretty quick, and then stage 2 took forever and a day, but we really made a big push 3 years ago, and we were able to get the money necessary. And it was funny, we actually came up with a proposal of how we were going to fund it. And when they listened to it, made sense. So I think local people have a little more smarts than we're given credit for. Okay? Yep.
Basic rule of government.
I already have. You think I'm chopped liver? I know I did that. Okay. Huh? I'm
not sure you did.
Commissioner Caslin, what you said is a basic rule of government. Those closest to the people know best the community's needs.
Right.
I see a couple other folks out here that aren't firefighters. They came in. Do you have any comments? Do you have any? I think we've got some folks from Leadership Owensboro. Do you guys want to take part of the process? If I were you, I'd have come up with something really great and stood up in front of us and expounded to your heart's content. No, you won't. You have to come up.
Being newer members of the community, I appreciate the concern for keeping the taxpayer dollars within the community, knowing what the needs are here. Obviously, Frankfurt can't really determine those. They don't step foot on our soil very often, and so that is a need that I think the community could serve a better role in.
And you're not, and we are not talking about our local representatives. I think they do an excellent job, and the representatives and Senator Bowen, they do a good job advocating, but they're a minority in that large majority up there. So, okay.
Judge, we need a name and address for the record. No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Name.
Yeah.
Name anyway.
Name and address. That's in case we have to pay the bills and we gotta prorate the lights and all that kind of stuff.
My name is Lindsay Boone. I'm in Commissioner of Commerce. Sector.
Okay, and you are with Leadership Owensboro,
With
right?
Leadership Owensboro in the Daviess County Extension Office.
All right, who's the other guy back there with you?
I'm Lee Underwood. I work at WKU Owensboro. I'm the IT consultant.
Okay.
And my address is 3844 Crystal Lane, Owensboro, Kentucky.
Okay. Do you know a Mr. Wolf that lives down that lane?
I probably do, but I don't know the name right off.
Okay, well, it's my brother-in-law. He looks like my wife. Have you ever seen my wife? She looks like her brother. All for the wake up to in the morning. All right, and you're with Leadership Owensboro too.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate the fact that both of you were interested enough to come and talk to us. So, thank you. Yes.
In closing, Judge, so after this is completed, the process is completed, we will meet with our state legislators.
Yes.
The EDC and the Chamber will, and we'll invite you as well. They are fantastic at circling back with us all through the session. It's it's pretty miraculous that they have to do and get so delved into what they're doing, but we get texts and calls from them during session, especially during hot stuff, just about every day.
Right.
They're fantastic.
Okay. Any other comment by anyone out in the public? Thank you, you folks, for being here. We appreciate it. Commissioners, any comment before we go to the next item? Okay, Jenny.
See public comments.
All right, we'll do this again. We now have had a public forum. Now we can have anyone come up and talk to us about any item other than what was on the agenda. And typically we don't have anybody, but I hope somebody will come. Oh, here he comes.
Hi, my name is Alex DeGrand, and for the protocol at 1400 Walnut. And I was under the impression that there would be a soliciting of comment on the public employee pension plan reform. I don't know if I was misinformed or not.
I don't know, that was not on the agenda. That wouldn't be something that we would take up. That's something really that we have no, it's not in our purview. While we pay the money in, we pay in what we're told to pay in. But we really have no control.
I understand.
But you're welcome to comment. If you have a comment, we'll certainly hear it.
Just so that it's not just more unconstructive raging on the Facebook, I'll just come on down and say that I ask the state to try a little harder than the plan that it's got. If this is an extraordinary problem, as it's reported on in the news, then it needs extraordinary solutions. And this plan is just the same old of cutting more and more out of a public service system that is already suffering from very little money, but tasked with ever-growing problems. So I'm just asking the state and all public officials, just try a little harder than this. Taking more money out of public employees' pockets after years and years of stagnant wages, I don't think it's the answer. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that kind of thinking rises to the challenge that the underfunded pension program presents.
Okay.
All right, well, thanks for having me.
I appreciate those comments. I suspect that you're joined by the public who pays the taxes that goes into those funds. They're wondering about how in the world are they gonna come up with what is going to have to come out of their pocket. There's no magic. There is no pension fund tree out in the backyard that they can go and pull the money off of.
There's not.
And it is a serious problem. I don't know if you heard Governor Bevin, he talked about we have several of the funds are in imminent danger in the next 3-4 years of collapsing if they don't do something. The CERS fund that we contribute into, a little better off. We've got about 59 cents of every dollar liability. I would like to see the separation of CERS from the other funds. certainly we would take the liability that we already have in that fund with us, and I think we could come up with a fix. It's not, I don't think that's gonna happen. You know, the teachers fund is another issue. Certainly KERS, I think, is the most poorly funded of all the funds. So, in the end, I think the taxpayers are gonna pay a huge, burden. I think that we need to keep in mind that, and as Tom Shelton, former superintendent of public schools, state superintendent, and he used to be a superintendent of public schools here, said that, and I think he's got he has a proposal out. I haven't seen it. I'm supposed to get a copy of it. He's got a counter proposal to share the sacrifice. I'm not sure that this is going to be solved this year. I think it's probably going to go over into the general session. But anyway, thank you for your comment.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. Any other public comment? Jenny?
Yes, sir. D, comments by Daviess Fiscal Court.
Okay, I'm not going to allow the fiscal court to comment tonight. Jenny Harsty, do you have any comment that you would like to? I'm kidding. Oh, Charlie?
Well, I wondered.
I'm sorry.
I was wondering if you were going to be serious about that, because the other item on the agenda that we voted on, you didn't ask for our input, but I think Commissioner Watson, he looked over here. I think we both noticed
What
that.
input?
I don't remember which item it was. Maybe he'll
Probably
speak to
didn't
it.
occur then. Well, no, I'm sorry. It did occur, but it was longer than 2 minutes ago.
So I don't remember.
And you don't remember.
There you go.
All right,
That might be
that's my
true.
goal, to get 2 minutes down the road, and I'm okay.
Anyway, all I have is, I know we have the Veterans Day Parade coming up on the 11th. I invite everybody to come out to it, and also take time to find a veteran that's on your street, down the road, or in your family, somebody that maybe somebody you don't, somebody at church that you don't thank them perhaps for their service to our country, but make an effort to do that.
Okay.
That's all.
Commissioner Watson.
Well, I'm concerned that we may be late for a class, so I'm gonna pass.
Okay.
My
Well, if he's going to be late for his class, it's his fault, not ours.
My comment, along with Commissioner Casson, is that over the next 2 weeks, we'll be attending a lot of veteran programs at a lot of the schools, middle schools and high schools, and we kind of try to separate where we all can maybe go to different schools, so we're represented by all of us. Even which I received a letter from a student from Sargo that I thought was very nice, inviting me to come there, and I am a veteran and proud of it. But I thought that was really nice. Means a lot, and hopefully I can let someone know there that I did show up. So thank you, Judge.
Okay. You know, I agree with you. I also served in the U.S. Army, and I didn't really think about it when I was younger, but the older I got, the more important it became. I know my dad and many of the folks that sit out here had dads and perhaps moms who served in World War II. And it was funny, my dad never really talked about being in the war until just before he died. I was fortunate I didn't go overseas, so I don't have that war experience, but I know the times that I spent away from home, away from my family, going on holidays, you know, wanting to see them, getting homesick. The further away from your family you get, the more homesick you become. The longer it takes you to get home in a single time period, the more homesick you become. I can't imagine a young family, a young wife with a child, having to give up her husband to go to war, or that husband and child giving up the mom to go to war. Any veterans out in our audience? There are. Who? Jason? Thank you for your service. And George, I want you to pass on to your son.
Thank you.
Captain in the U.S. Marines. Thank him for his service on behalf of Daviess County. because if those folks didn't serve that time, didn't give that time away from their family, we probably wouldn't be here tonight doing the things that we're doing and exercising the rights that we have. And sometimes exercising the rights to complain, exercise the right to dissent. That's what makes this, I think, our nation stand out. We can stand and have a civil conversation and agree to disagree and then go on to the next issue, and we don't get balled up in that. On a local level, unfortunately, the further you get away from the local level, sometimes party takes over as opposed to common sense. So anyway, I get to preach tonight, don't I?
I noticed that.
Commissioner Caslen and I went to Ohio County. We went to Rosine today to help Ohio County celebrate the opening of a community center in Rosine. It's pretty cool.
It was.
They have put the latest and greatest technology for Connect Grad in this center. So the folks down the holla, where Rosine is located, next to the whistle stop. What are you laughing about over there, engineer? Okay, all right. I'm going to throw this at you. They can now get 12 megabytes,
Yes.
up to 25, but they can get 12 megabytes download and upload, and that's where they had nothing before. So that's pretty cool. I know that Judge Johnson was pretty proud of that little center. So, yes.
Jordan's from Rosine, aren't you, Jordan?
He's in Ohio County. We did have a gentleman, remember what the guy told us today, Charlie? He wanted to teach us a little history. He said, bet y'all didn't know that Daviess County used to be part of Ohio County.
He did.
I said, I bet you I did know. And I said, you were probably there when they wrote the contract to separate the two. And you know, he was 80 years old. He almost was. So anyway, thanks to everyone for coming tonight.
Judge, we got an anniversary.
If there's no, oh, yeah, thanks, Mike. I always forget that, don't I? November, we celebrate the anniversary of our Public Works Heavy Equipment Operator, Zach Winkler. Been with us 5 years. Zach, if you're listening out there, thank you. I think in this mobile society anymore, it's hard to keep an employee 5 years, so we must be doing something good. If there's no other business to be brought before Daviess County Fiscal Court without exception, we're adjourned.